Hello family, this is Fanelligence, and today we'll be looking at the cardiovascular system. So the word cardiovascular system means the heart and the vessels which come together to perform this specific function as a system. And don't forget, the cardiovascular system is part of the circulatory system. We talk about that. So the word cardiovascular, cardio means heart. So wherever you hear the word cardio is related to what? The heart. Now, vascular is referred to what? The blood vessels. You know, the blood vessels are connected to the heart to make its full function. So when we take the heart, the tissue of the heart, it has what? Layers. So we know tissues come together to form an organ. Since the heart is an organ, so let's look at the histology of the heart. Now, looking at the histology of the heart has what? Three main layers. So the innermost layer of the heart is known as the endocardium. Endo means inside and cardium means the heart. So the innermost layer of the heart is endocardium. Then you take the outermost part. The outermost part is known as pericardium. Peri means covering or the outermost part. So pericardium. Then not forgetting the inner layer. We said it has three layers. So the endocardium, which is the innermost, and the pericardium, which is the outermost. Now the middle layer of the heart is known as what? The myocardium. Somebody will be asking, why is it not meso? Since meso means middle. No, it's myo because we know that myo means muscle. And then the middle layer of the heart is made up of what? Muscle layer. And it's responsible for the contraction, the movement of the heart. Now, let's look at the vessels. Now, vessels don't have their names because of the blood that they carry, but vessels have their name because of the flow of the blood. So we have the vessels, you have arteries and veins. We have capillaries, which are the smallest parts of the vessels in the tissues where exchange of nutrients and gases take place. That's in the tissues. So the vessels which are around the heart, we have the arteries and veins. So arteries are vessels that carry blood away from the heart, and veins are vessels that carry blood towards the heart. So people get it confused, why the pulmonary artery, the pulmonary vein. Now let me make it clear to you today. The pulmonary artery has its name, pulmonary. Pulmonary means it's related to the lung. Now, the pulmonary artery is the only artery that carries deoxygenated blood. This is the reason. When blood gets here, you get the cardiac flow. So when blood gets here, it's deoxygenated blood. So for it to move into the lungs to be reoxygenated, is the pulmonary artery that has to take it to the lungs. It has its name, artery, because it's taking blood away from the heart. Do you understand? And the pulmonary vein is a vein because it carries blood towards the heart. So we have the inferior and superior vena cava, which are veins, and they have the name vein because they carry blood towards the heart, even though they carry deoxygenated blood. Is it clear? And pulmonary vein has its name pulmonary vein because it has pulmonary. It's connected to the lung, so it's taking the oxygenated blood from the lung towards the heart to be recirculated. Now, let's continue. So we've spoken about the heart. The heart has what? 4 chambers. We have 4 chambers of the heart. The heart is divided into 2 halves, which is the left and right halves, by this tissue called septum. The septum divides the heart into the left and right part. Then we have we have 4 parts of the heart. So like this, vertically is being divided by the septum. It's also divided into the top and down. The top part of the heart is known as the atria. Then the down parts are known as what? The ventricles. And it's being divided by the atrioventricular valves. The left part of the heart, which is divided by a valve. This valve is known as what? Bicuspid valve. Bicuspid means it has 2 cuspids, which is forming the valve, which is separating the heart into 2. Then we have the right part of the heart, which is divided by 3 cuspids or 3 cups, so which is known as the tricuspid valve. So it's divided into 4 chambers: the right atrium, the right ventricle, the left atrium, and the left ventricle. So let's continue to look at the parts of the heart. So we know the four chambers, and then we also know the walls of ventricles. Now, the walls of ventricles are these walls, and you all can see that the left ventricle has a thicker myocardium than the right ventricle. This is because the left ventricle needs much muscles, enough muscles to be able to pump blood from it to all parts of the body. Now, when it pumps the blood, it pumps it into the aorta. So before the blood enters the aorta, it passes through the aortic valve. The aortic valve is a valve here that prevents the backflow of blood from the aorta into the left ventricle. When blood enters the aorta is an artery. Why? Because it takes blood away from the heart and is the largest artery in mammals. Now let's continue. The aorta goes, it has three sections here. You can see most diagram. This enters the right arm, the left arm, this goes to the head, and this one comes down to the lower part of the body, and it has sub branches. So when oxygenated blood is pumped from the left ventricle into the aorta, it goes to the body parts or the body tissues. Then exchange of gases and nutrients happen over there. So let's look at the parts of the heart. Let's look at the chambers of the heart. So we have the four chambers. The right atrium, the top here, this is the right atrium. Even though it's on my left as I'm writing, but then when I do like this, this is the heart. This part is the right part of the heart. So this is my right atrium. This is the right ventricle. The other side here is the left part of the heart. So the top part, which is known as the atria, this is the top, which is the left atrium. And this is the left ventricle. Now let's look at it. This is the walls of ventricle. So the left wall of ventricle, the right wall of ventricle. You know why the left ventricle is more thicker than the left? Because this part needs much muscles or enough muscles to be able to pump enough blood through the aorta to all parts of the body. So this is known as the aorta. And that's the largest artery in human. So it's an aorta because it carries blood away from the heart. Now when the aorta takes it, aorta is divided. We have parts. This goes into the right arm, this goes to the left arm, this goes to the head to supply the brain and other tissues here with oxygen and nutrients. Then this one bends into the lower part and it has branches. Now when it goes through the arteries, it's lowers into the arteries. So whenever in science you see where with which ends IOLES is the lower or the smaller part of it. So we have arterioles and veins. So the arterioles is when the arteries are taking the blood, since the aorta is the largest part, it's lowest, the lumen of it lowest, and then it goes into arterioles, then it goes to the smaller part, which are the capillaries, which are the sites for exchange of oxygen and nutrients into the tissue, and then it continues to veins. After the body has absorbed these rich nutrients from it, then it continues to come back to the heart. They have the bronchioles. The bronchioles are also smaller part of what? Bronchi. Now let's continue. So when these arterioles to the capillaries, then the venules continues, and then it comes to the veins. The veins are to bring the blood back to the heart to continue the cycle. And this is done by the superior and inferior vena cava. And inferior vena cava. So superior vena cava brings the blood to the heart from the upper part of the body, and superior brings it from the lower part of the body. And they are veins because they take blood towards the heart. When the blood gets into the right atrium, then it passes into the tricuspid valve. Tricuspid valve because it has 3 capsules which come together to form the valve. So we have the tricuspid valve. Sorry, there's a tricuspid valve. Now, when the blood gets to the right ventricle, it needs to be pumped into the lungs to be reoxygenated, because the blood coming from the veins are deoxygenated blood. The body has absorbed all the oxygen from it. So it needs to go back to the lung to be reoxygenated before the heart pumps it to the tissue again. So it needs to pass through the pulmonary artery. So it has the name artery because it takes blood away from the heart. Don't forget, vessels have their name due to the flow or the direction of the flow of blood they carry, but not the content that they carry, either being it oxygenated or deoxygenated. When it's taking it away from the heart, it's an artery. When it's bringing it to the heart, it's a vein. Before the blood gets to the pulmonary artery, it needs to pass through the semilunar pulmonary valve. Semilunar pulmonary valve, and then it gets to the pulmonary artery. The semilunar pulmonary valve prevents the backflow of blood from the pulmonary artery back to the right ventricle. So this is the pulmonary artery. It has 2 branches because part of the blood needs to go to the right lung, part needs to go to the left lung to be reoxygenated. And after the gaseous exchange has happened in the alveoli, around the vesicles or the capillaries around the alveoli in the lung, and then oxygen gets to the blood, it needs to come back to the heart before it can go to the other parts of the body, because the lung does not have that power to be able to pump the blood to the other tissues. So it needs to come back to the heart, and it's brought to the heart by the pulmonary arteries, pulmonary veins. So pulmonary vein because it takes blood towards the heart. So pulmonary means it's related to the lung, pulmonary lung, and then vein, it carries blood towards the heart. This blood coming to the heart from the pulmonary vein is rich in nutrients. So it's characterized by a bright red in color. The bright red in color because hemoglobin is the part of it's in the red blood cells, which is responsible for taking the blood, the oxygen, and then the hemoglobin, the hay part is the iron part, and the globin is the protein. So the hay part, which is the iron, has a adhesive, it's adhesive to the oxygen ion, so it binds to the oxygen ion for oxygenation, or making the blood rich in oxygen. So it gets to the left ventricle. Then the bicuspid valve opens out for the blood to flow into the left ventricle. So this valve bicuspid because it has 2 corpses which come together to form the valve. Bicuspid valve. After bicuspid valve has opened for the blood to flow into the left ventricle, it needs to be pumped to all parts of the body. So the bicuspid valve closes, and then the aortic valve, which is the valve that covers the aorta to prevent backflow of blood from the aorta back to the left ventricle. The aortic valve opens for the content in the left ventricle to be pumped into it, then it takes it to all parts of the body. So these are the parts of the heart. So you can see anatomically the left ventricle is thick. It has a thick myocardium because it needs much muscles to be able to pump the content to all parts of the body other than the right ventricle. And in general, the ventricles are more thicker than the atria because the ventricles are the parts of the heart that pumps blood. So we end it here in another video. We talk about the conduction, the electrical conduction of the heart. Thank you.